Good evening, Holliston. Welcome to the April 27th meeting of the Select Board. We have completed our executive session. Now we're into our regular business for this evening. So we have we're going to get started with our agenda, and we have let me see. Oh, Jackie's here. Okay. Hello, Jackie. Jackie Weiner is here. So we have a proclamation recognizing May 3rd through the 9th as Children's Mental Health Awareness Week. Jackie, if you want to introduce this and
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Jackie. I'm with Holliston Youth and Family Services, and I'm joined with Luke Spurgett, Julia Bonomano, did I get that right, Julia? And Max Harrington, and they are going to read for the viewers and for all of you tonight our proclamation for Children's Mental Health Awareness Week.
Wonderful. Whoever would like to make sure they can unmute. And if you could unmute yourselves, the three of you, thank you for coming in. And whoever's going to get started, feel free to begin.
Good evening. We are youth from Holliston, and we are here tonight to present a proclamation for Children's Mental Health Awareness Week. We represent our schools, our community, and HDAC action teams. Together, we are working to raise awareness, break down stigma, and remind other young people that they're not alone. This matters to us because when we talk about mental health openly, we create more understanding, more support, and more hope. We are proud to share this proclamation with you tonight.
Whereas the mental health of children and youth is essential to their overall development, learning, and long-term well-being, and
whereas many children and adolescents experience challenges such as anxiety, depression, trauma, and family stress, which can impact their ability to thrive at home, in school, and in their community. And
whereas parents and caregivers are among the most important protective factors in a child's life, and supporting families strengthen outcomes for children. And
whereas early identification, timely access to services, and strong partnerships between families, schools, and community organizations help build resilience and promote healing. And
whereas the town of Holliston is committed to fostering a caring, inclusive, and supportive community where all children feel seen, heard, and valued. And
whereas the town of Holliston joins communities across the Commonwealth and nation in recognizing May as Mental Health Awareness Month, with a special focus on children's mental health during the week of May 3rd to May 9th, 2026.
Now, therefore, we, the Select Board of Holliston, the town of Holliston, do hereby proclaim the week of May 3rd to 9th, 2026 as Children's Mental Health Awareness Week
in the town of Holliston, and encourage all residents to learn about the mental health needs of children and youth, support local programs and initiatives, including those led by Holliston Youth and Family Services and our school community, and work together to ensure that every child feels supported, connected, and hopeful. Signed this 27th day of April 2026 on behalf of the Holliston Select Board.
Thank you. Luke, Julia, Max, thank you very much. That was great. Great job. We appreciate it. Jackie, do you have any comments you want to make before we...
I just want to give Luke and Max maybe 5 seconds to share their initiative for Mental Health Awareness
Oh, sure.
Month
Great.
in
Yes.
a couple of weeks.
Please.
Yeah, thank you. So actually this Saturday, May 2nd, Max and I for our National Honor Society project are hosting, we're calling it May Miles for Minds, is a mental health fundraiser run and walk at the rail trail. Just so quickly, so details, this Saturday, it begins at 9:30, and you can sign up for either a 3K or a 5K, and the registration proceeds all go to Ben Speaks, which is a local, based in Holliston, mental health service provider. So we have provided registration links on the Holliston Town website calendar and on Holliston Happy on Facebook. So we'll hope to see all of you there if you can make it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for doing that. That's great. We appreciate it. And yeah, we hope people can check that out. Go to the website or Holliston Happy and get the link that Luke and Max brought forward. And thank you very much. And yeah. And did you have something to add, Jackie?
Nope, I just wanted to say thank you for your time and for the opportunity tonight.
My pleasure. So we're going to take a vote to sign the petition, sign the proclamation, excuse me. So if we could have a motion, please.
Move to sign the proclamation just read recognizing May 3rd through 9th, 2026 as Children's Mental Health Awareness Week.
Enthusiastically seconded.
All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
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 Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Awesome.
Have a wonderful evening, and thank you for
You too.
Max, Julia, and Luke for coming in this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Take care.
You too.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Moving on. Number 2, Mr. Bradford. Always a pleasure to see you, sir. Please come on up. We're going to talk about the Memorial Day observance and events.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Thank you for coming in.
So, I'd like to use this annual stop here to announce who our Grand Marshal is.
Okay.
And a unanimous decision by the committee was Christine Wesson.
Okay. Wonderful.
And I'll just tell you about her military history. I think you all know about what she's done here in town.
Yes.
So she was an E6 AT1, which is an aviation electronics technician, first class, which is a step below chief petty officer. So she did okay. She was in from 1984 to 1990. So to make E6 in 6 years is a pretty good thing. She was based out of NAS Moffett Field in California and NAS Barbers Point, Hawaii. NAS is Naval Air Station.
Okay.
I told her that it would be announced tonight, but she said she's in Scotland, so she'll probably be asleep when the meeting is going on.
Okay.
Like
Congratulations
I
to
said,
her.
it was a unanimous decision by the.
Okay.
One of the things people might not realize that Christine did was, so far she has organized 2 suicide awareness meetings that we had. They're called the Columbia Protocols, and they're put on by Columbia University, by
Mhm.
professors there. And we're looking at having another one coming up in the fall.
Okay.
And we've invited, the last one we did in conjunction with Jackie's group,
Mm-hmm.
and we invited police and fire to attend, so.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Like I say, that's our big part. I made copies if
Okay.
you would like them.
Absolutely. Thank you.
These aren't finished.
Okay.
I think I made 5 copies. They're not finished because we've made some, there'll be some changes coming up. One of the,
There's 2 more. So
one of our big changes this year is that I will be doing the Observe the Day part of the ceremony here at Town Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And Commander DeGan from the VFW will be marshalling the parade
Okay.
through. So he'll be doing what I was doing, and I'll be doing the Observe the Day work. We expect, we've invited Senate President, the state rep, and of course the board and town manager. And so I'm not sure who's speaking for who. Sometimes the Senate President sends someone else.
Okay.
Usually the state rep tries to be here because I know where he lives. And
Yes.
you guys will be in transition flowing into that as we
Yes.
have town elections. We'll plug for town elections
Yes.
coming up. So I would assume that you'll let me know when
Yeah.
you decide who will
Will be-
speak.
Usually it's the senior person, unless they've been designated as someone else. So we'll say who.
And of course, we'll have Father Mark and Pastor Scott for the invocation and the benediction.
Okay.
So what we've tried to do is, in the past, is we put out a schedule of what we're doing for that week.
Right.
And one of the things that's not on that schedule, because we've lost brothers and sisters over in the Mideast, and we'll be putting up the posters and flags on the Sunday before Memorial Day, the week before,
Okay.
so that they'll be up through the day after Memorial Day.
Okay.
So that'll happen this year. And then on Wednesday, we'll dress the outlying cemeteries and the veteran squares. That's done by Walter McGrath and his daughter. So this is one of the things, like when you guys honored Walter last year, the Humanitarian Award.
Yeah.
It's one of the things he
One of the
does.
things he does, yeah.
So, then on Thursday, we'll dress the graves in the two large cemeteries and have the flag retirement ceremony up at Lake Grove. And then on Monday, we'll visit the cemeteries, have the parade, and have the ceremony here, and then finish up at HPD and over across the street.
Yes.
So, I think that's what we have
Okay.
and what we'll be doing.
Is there any changes to the parade route from what we've been doing?
It's the same as it's been the last couple of years.
Okay.
Where we jog down Front Street
To go
so
to that
that we can
memorial.
go to the monument there
Yep.
and then come around.
Okay.
That's the only change in the route.
Okay. And that's been that way for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as of right now, we still have the oldest veteran will be in the parade.
Okay.
We'll do as we did last year. He'll be in a wheelchair. He can't straighten his legs out.
Okay.
So we'll have him brought to the school in a van,
Okay.
and he'll be pushed and escorted by Deputy Delacour from,
Okay.
well, actually Deputy Delacour and Deputy Greendale
Okay.
from HFD,
Okay.
and two Girl Scouts holding signs saying oldest veteran.
Wow. Okay.
And like I say, that's the plan right now, and
Okay.
we're hoping that it does happen.
Wonderful. And that's still Charlie?
So,
Still Charlie Nickerson?
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all there.
Yeah.
And,
Hope to- Any,
thanks.
yeah. Thank you for coming in and doing all this. Tina, any comments, questions?
None, just thank you for your service in this way and every other way.
David, any comments?
Yeah, many things. I think it's important to remember these kinds of sacrifices. I think they're easily forgotten, but always good to keep them top of mind.
And I'll thank you too for, all those things, but also all the hard work you do behind the scenes to do these schedules, to organize all these people and these organizations to continue to do these things, you and the people that you work with, and best to everyone, and we just really appreciate everything, and we look forward to seeing you on Memorial Day in a somber occasion, of course, so, but thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Enjoy your meeting.
Well, we will.
Guys.
Good night, Steve.
All right. So next we have, we put it in as a joint meeting with the school committee, but there's only one member of the school committee here. The chair is here. Do you want to come up? You don't have to, but you certainly can if you wanted to ask any questions while we watch see the presentation from Beth. Why don't you come on up? That way, if you certainly can chime in. We have Beth Greenblatt, who's our expert in solar. We're here to talk a little bit about the projects with the middle school in Placentino Miller, with for solar on those particular facilities, and that's why we invited the school committee to come in, so that way, if there were any questions, you could see the same you could see the same proposal, and that you'd have an opportunity to ask or no, and then this is informational, but just so that way you at least have the understanding of what's happening and things like that. We can all see the same thing. So I have Beth. We have Sarah Fitzgerald from the school committee here as well, so she might have some questions. But Beth, we really appreciate you taking some time to talk to us tonight, and we're looking forward to hearing your presentation.
Thank you very much, folks. Mr. Chair, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about something that I know has been long in the works, and we're all very excited. I'm joined tonight by Byron Woodman, who is from Select Energy, the vendor that would design, develop, construct, and own the asset. And I'm sure he'd be happy to answer any questions you have. I will first say that the last presentation is a very hard one to follow, and I am very humbled by his service and others. So let's, if we could, first slide. Awesome. I thought I would take an opportunity just to do a very quick overview of the two different projects, one at Placentino and the other at Adams, and talk to the highlights of not only of the systems themselves, but the sort of financial implication of implementing those systems at the two locations, with more to come in the future. There was a more detailed memo, and this is really a summary of that memo to bring out the highlights of what I think are critical for folks to understand. So for Placentino, the size of the array, the DC capacity, the modules are about 206, little under 269 kW DC, with AC capacity of 200 kilowatts. And on an annual basis, the existing usage of the building is about 581,000 kilowatt hours, and the solar will generate and offset about 325,000 kilowatt hours, which is about 56% of the total electric requirements of the building. So it's a meaningful contribution toward the electric utilization at the building. Next slide, please. In terms of Adams, similar, the system's a little bigger, 358 kW DC, 240 AC. The building watt hours, the solar will generate a little under 426,000 kilowatt hours, and that represents about 50% of the total electricity consumption of the building. Next slide, please. So I'd like to speak to the attributes so that it's clear where benefits are coming from. So the design of the solar array, both of them, is that it's designed as a behind the meter installation, meaning it's literally plugged into the back of the building or behind the meter of the building. And that results in the direct purchase of solar generated electricity from the arrays, supplemented by electricity provided by Eversource in terms of supply and delivery. So the building will be buying electricity from the sun and electricity from the grid. The economic benefits to Holliston is really coming from two sources. One is avoided cost savings, what you don't have to buy from the grid, supply and delivery, but instead you're buying from Select Energy, from electricity generated by the sun, which is really the supply, because it is immediately delivered to the building. And so that's really where the savings are. What you're not buying from the grid, because you're buying from the sun, and the delta between those two values. And that's called avoided costs. So it's what you're not. And the solar arrays only generate 50 to 56% of each building's usage. There may be times where the solar array actually exports. The building consumes everything it can, and the rest of it exports to Eversource. And for exported energy, the Eversource is required to buy it at their cost of supply. And that gets provided back to the town in the form of a financial credit on the building account. So there's obviously more avoided cost benefits and some limited amount of exported generation, but it's important to understand that to the extent there's generation that is exported, like for an example, in the month of August, when there may be less activity going on in the schools, and yet the solar array is humming along because there's lots of sun in the sky. So those are the two main sources of benefits that the school will be getting, each school. Next slide, please. So in terms of the financial attributes, the base power purchase rate that Select has offered for Placentino is 5.63 cents, with a maximum not to exceed fixed power purchase rate of 6.16. Why the difference? Well, there are that is for items that are not fully known at this time. There may be some other part of the due diligence process, and that information is not yet known. And so the max PPA rate reflects those contingencies that could occur. They're very specific, they're defined in the contract, and right now we have limited reason to believe that we would see a power purchase rate in excess of 5.63. But again, we need to allow for the potential situation where some of those contingencies need to be drawn on. The estimated voided cost value is a little over 18 cents. So for every kilowatt hour that you're buying from the sun through Select at 5.63 cents, you're avoiding buying it from the grid at 18 cents. So that's where your savings comes in. The overall net savings over 20 years for the project is projected at a little over $866,000. And that's after accounting for what you have to pay to Select for generating those kilowatt hours from the sun. The annual net savings on an annual basis, if you annualize the $866,000, is about $43,000 a year. I am making some very, very conservative assumptions as to because of that, we're sort of looking to underpromise and overdeliver. If electricity costs are higher than that 18-cent rate on average for supply and delivery, then the savings to the school is even greater, because the rate for the solar provided electricity is fixed for 20 years. So it's a hedge. A portion of the electricity costs for the school are delivered at a fixed rate without any escalation. Just some carbon offset equivalents, if you could switch up a little. This level of electricity generation from the sun is the equivalent of reducing your carbon footprint, if you will, by 143 metric tons per year. It equates to over 17 million smartphones charged a year. I love that statistic. And it reflects about 46 homes of electricity use. So it's a meaningful contribution toward decarbonizing your community. Similarly, for Adams, next slide, please. The base power purchase rate is a little higher because of a variety of factors, but substantially similar, with of 5.67 cents per kilowatt hour. Significant opportunity here, 18 cents per kilowatt hour of avoided costs, for a net savings over 20 years of about a little over $1.1 million. And annualized, it's about $57,000 a year. Again, for both schools, we've been ultra conservative with escalation rates for electricity. For traditional electricity, again, in both scenarios, your electricity rate from the solar is fixed for 20 years. At Adams, the annual carbon offset equivalents, if you could scooch up a little, it's about 188 metric tons of CO2 reduced, over 23 million smartphones charged, and about 60 homes of electricity usage. Next slide, please. So I thought I'd just spend a few minutes to go over the sort of the commercial provisions and how the contract documents, which are extraordinarily dense, have been negotiated between the town, your representatives, Frank and James and others, town council, Lisa Mead directly, and myself with Select Energy to make sure that these contract documents, because they are long-term agreements, properly protect the town. And the two commercial agreements are a power purchase agreement and a select board will, if approved, enter into the power purchase agreement, and the school committee will enter into the lease agreement. Both contracts, as I mentioned, have been fully vetted by the town and town council with support by myself from Beacon and Select Energy. And Power Options, because this is their solar program, has reviewed and approved the pricing that Select Energy has offered to the town. On a financial basis, the power purchase rate is fixed for 20 years. And again, it's a long-term hedge for delivered electricity. The town/school owner of the building has the right to purchase the system in certain defined years. That's well articulated in the power purchase agreement, that there is a right to purchase provision. During the construction period, there are specific provisions and protections, specifically including limited and defined access rights, quarry requirements, structural analysis requirements, some of which Select Energy has already done, but to certify that the roof can in fact receive solar and has reserved structural capacity to have the solar installed on the roof. There are roof warranty protections, sort of installation. There are specific insurance provisions and protections. And then there's construction coordination. While Select Energy is doing the installation of the system, they will coordinate with building staff to make sure that there's no disruptions through the process. Next slide, please. During operations, there's also some significant protections and provisions. There's limited and defined access rights for maintenance purposes. Select Energy, under this construct that we're discussing tonight, will own the asset and therefore needs access to be able to maintain, repair, and check on the asset from time to time. But there's very defined requirements for that level of involvement in the buildings, including quarry requirements and coordination with building staff. There are roof warranty protections that follow through during the operations period to make sure that the roof warranty is not in any way impacted. There are roof maintenance and repair provisions for the town. In the event there is some level of damage on the roof in areas that aren't, and in areas that were not caused by the solar array that the town needs to address, there are provisions in the contract to allow the town to address those concerns. To shut down the array so some limited amount of repair can occur. If it goes longer, there are provisions in the contract to allow for a longer period of time if needed. Again, provisions for emergencies and repairs, protections for safety, reliability, and performance of the system. There is a performance guarantee of 85% of the estimated annual solar generated electricity. So Select is guaranteeing 85% of what they're estimating to happen. That will change. The solar generation is all dependent on how sunny we have, how much sun we see in a year, but Select is using 30-year historical data to be able to normalize the data in a way that they feel very confident that we will see at least 85% of what they're projecting we would see from the solar generation. And then again, there's insurance provisions and protections to make sure your assets, the school building, both of the school buildings are properly protected. Next slide, please. So in terms of next steps, our hope with concurrence by the select board and the school committee would vote in the case of the power purchase agreement fully vetted by town council as to form and content. The lease agreements we would ask that the school committee authorize the superintendent to execute the contracts on their behalf. And if not the superintendent, the chair in either case would be fine. Select has indicated, and I'll defer to Byron on this if anyone has any questions, that if we're able to close everything out, get approvals, and work toward getting those contracts executed by the end of this week, the projects will be put into the queue for construction to start this summer and hopefully be completed before school year, which is a great and speedy turnaround. If not, they'll get pushed out and can still be implemented during the school year. Select would have to obviously coordinate to make sure that there was nothing that was disruptive. They will need to potentially crane equipment to the top of the roof. They would coordinate around that, and any summer programs that are going on at either school, Select would still coordinate with building management and maintenance to make sure that any of the construction activities didn't cause minimal disruption to the ongoings of the buildings. And with that, I'm happy to take some questions.
Before we take any questions, Byron, did you have any comments that you wanted to make for Beth's presentation? She always does a very comprehensive presentation, so there's probably not much you can add, but just wanted to give you this opportunity before we ask any questions.
Thank you. No additional comments. No, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think my big comment here is we appreciate it. My main question was timeline, and I heard that. And Beth, it's always good working with you because we always know we get lots of comprehensive information presented from you, and we're very grateful for that. There may be some other questions from some of the other people here. I'm going to certainly defer to Sarah first if you have any questions at this time. If you want to ask, you certainly have the opportunity.
I was going to piggyback on the timeline question. I think it would be great to do.
Recording in progress.
Summers.
Yeah.
Certainly. And then is it working with you, James, and David Jordan in terms of, we still do have summer programs going on, so it's not like the buildings are empty, so just coordinating to understand what's...
Yeah, I'll manage the project on behalf of the town.
That was my biggest concern, just making sure that...
The timing was good and that it wasn't disruptive to the programs that are taking place at those facilities. Got it.
Yeah, just to Beth, you mentioned, excuse me, early on in your presentation that August as the example, the sun is shining bright and long, and there's electricity energy being produced that isn't needed for the school's consumption. It flows back to Eversource. They pay by way of a credit. How does that credit flow back to the town of Holliston? Does it flow back to an account we have? Does it flow back to the schools? How does that come back into Holliston, that credit, or how does it come to Holliston?
That's actually determined by you folks. Eversource will look for an account number to flow that financial credit back to. one or more account numbers.
Is that plan needed before we vote to, authorize Frank to sign the contract? Do we need to square that up before, ahead of time, or that's something we can do administratively after the fact?
You can do it administratively after the fact.
Okay.
And I'd also like to note that you can also change,
Okay.
right? You can shift credits around. If there is an abundance of excess exported credits that needs to be socialized over a broader or a different set of accounts, that can happen on a several times per year thing. It's a process that you work through with the utility for alternative on-bill credits.
Okay, thank you. That was one question. The second question is, are the roofs both at Placentino and Adams in working condition to receive? I mean, it sounds like they are. If the timeline is this summer, both of those roofs are adequate for, there's no repair work that has to happen in order for the panels to go up this summer.
Yeah, so I'll answer in general, and Byron, you can talk about the structural analysis and the reviews that you guys have already done. But there are areas, and if you go back and look at the graphics, the entire roofs are not covered.
Okay.
So we focused on the newer portions.
Okay.
Did a structural analysis on the roofs to determine their structural integrity. Byron, if you want to speak to that.
No, I mean, I think that's really it. There's two things really three things that we look at. One is the age of the roof. These are new roofs, so that's not a concern. We'll look at weight loading considerations, and then we'll look at uplift considerations. In terms of weight loading, we did look at weight loading for both the schools, and specifically for Adams, we have locations. We looked at all the different roofs that are there, probably about 8 different roof sections or more, and identified the ones that would both get the best sun hours and were also had the necessary capacity. And then we did the uplift analysis as part of the ballast plans. So we checked all 3 boxes for both schools and feel good about it.
Okay, thank you. And then Frank, how do you see us moving forward on the credit flowing back to accounts and so on?
So I think currently, and I know James and Dr. Jordan have been working together and getting a bunch of account numbers changed. I think one school had another school's account number, and all that had to get to. Yeah, there was a lot of. Anyway, so I think currently all of it, after we got all that settled, I think all of the credits right now are staying with school facilities.
Okay.
But that's certainly open to, we can, as Beth alluded to, we can certainly change that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
David?
Yeah, just one short one. On the performance guarantee portion, which, if I recall, you said was 85% of the estimate based on solar throughput. How does that work in practice if there's a shortfall? Is that a financial transaction? Is it a transaction in form of credits to remediate energy consumption through Eversource? What's the actual kind of brick and mortar of that?
Yeah, so in the power purchase agreement, there is the guarantee provision, which points back to what your avoided costs would be.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so if you're avoiding 18 cents and you're paying them I'm just rounding now, 6 cents, right? The savings would be 12 cents. So we're looking at your lost savings that they would compensate if they blow if they drop below the guarantee amount.
And is that compensation like a financial transfer? Okay, it's this amount of dollars, or a credits transfer of some kind towards like the purchase of energy?
It's a physical payment.
Understood. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Frank, any other comments?
No, thank you, Beth. We've spent a lot of time working on this one and on the other one on Marshall Street, obviously. So thank you, as always, for your diligence and making it easy to understand.
I think the other thing I'd want to say is, we worked hard to negotiate these 2 agreements, which are exactly the same form, just with different details for the specific projects, and I think they'll serve as a really good model as we work with James on some of the other locations that he's very anxious to start to pursue. So the contracting details piece, we're hoping is done, and now it's just getting to the technical and financial piece of the other locations that James is anxious to pursue.
Actually, one other quick question here too is that, as we look for a DPW facility and thinking about that, I think that's probably what we'd probably want to pursue and see what that looks like, and trying to find a solar agreement and arrangement for that facility at some particular point in time as well. So,
I have one other question. Oh, it's actually for James Keese. Beth, thank you for the information specifically on reduction in carbon CO2 production. Will our action plan, because we're currently developing a climate action plan, this information will flow towards that plan? Like they'll update it with it? That's great. That's great. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and we'll work with Amelia.
Yeah,
to
okay.
make sure that she gets all of the details she needs. In fact, both of these projects will have what's called a data acquisition system, and the town and school department will have a URL link to be able to see the performance of the systems. So you'll be able to see some key metrics that are very sort of consumer facing. So you'll see kilowatt hours generated this week, this month, this year. You'll also see the equivalent carbon offsets that can be used. The data can be retrieved, can be manipulated. A great thing to work with some, students in the schools.
And Beth, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I triggered another thought. Do you see other municipalities, other school districts, do you see them using those credits? Because that generates cash, right? Real, like currency. Do you see them taking that money coming in and then using it for future projects? So to the point that we have a DPW where we would want to in the future consider panels on that. Do you see other communities taking that credit coming back from Eversource and sort of stockpiling it, saving it for a future project that has solar on another municipal or school or other building?
So that is, as Frank will smile and attest, is one of those municipal finance questions of how DOR allows you to address these things. I would say you're probably getting a better opportunity to do that reinvestment in future projects from the project at the landfill once that's operational.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Just because it's a pure net metering, it goes to an account, it's a financial transaction.
Okay.
In this case, because these assets are smaller than the annual load, there isn't going to be significant support.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. All set.
okay. I think that's everything here. I think we have a motion to authorize the power purchase agreement if everyone's comfortable with that.
Yes, move to authorize the town manager to execute the contract for power purchase agreement with Select.
Seconded?
All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
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 All right. I think that's what you needed, Beth. We're gonna authorize the town manager, and I believe the school committee is meeting on Thursday?
Yes.
And they're gonna take it up on Thursday. And we'll get that presentation to you and the committee, everything.
Do we have to approve this? I know we've.
You have
we've
to do the
approved
leasing.
lease.
You
Yeah,
already.
We've approved the lease with, allowing the budget subcommittee to make slight tweaks to, there were just a couple questions. But in general, the overall lease has been approved by us.
Okay, well, I think what Beth's looking for is it sounds like it needs to be signed this week to be able to be executed
By April 30th?
by April 30th, and so that way they can get construction over the summer.
Our meeting's on April 30th? So if.
I think, like, we can work with Beth behind the scenes, like, I think if you have questions, you should, like, let's get you those answers as quickly as possible.
I would guess that if the school committee votes to authorize either the chair or the superintendent to execute the two leases on the 30th, and then executes the next day, that would be sufficient information for Select to put both projects in the queue for construction this summer. Would you agree, Byron? I don't want to put words.
Yeah, I think if the vote occurs on the 30th, that's right. And just as a technicality, I think it's the superintendent, the vote would be for the superintendent to sign. And then just one other thing, as it occurred to me, the approval of the vote, and thank you very much for the vote this evening. Just wanted to confirm in the minutes that it specifies that it's both for Adams and Placentino.
Yes.
And we will use that vote to memorialize as part of the financing and everything else.
Yeah, we'll
I
make
just
sure.
wanted
Yeah.
to note that.
We will make sure in the minutes that it denotes that it's for both projects at Miller and for at Placentino and at Adams. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. And then just work with Frank to try to get if you have the questions sooner, let's get them.
I think they've been answered.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been sort of working behind the scenes to get the answers to the
Great.
questions. So I think
Awesome.
we should be all set.
Just whatever we can do to get you what you need to feel comfortable. Great. All right. That's
Sarah.
Byron. Thank you so much for your time this evening. The sun has gone down, so we're. We hope you enjoy the rest of your evening and appreciate all your time tonight.
Nothing more productive to come?
I know. Oh yeah, another thing. But
Good night, everyone.
good night.
Good night.
Bye.
All right. So we're gonna move on to the next item. We're gonna talk about approve the charge of the Holliston School Building Committee. Go through like the charge and. Okay. So I think we've all had a chance to look at this. Is everybody comfortable with this language here? Tina, do you have any comments about it? I know you did a lot of the negotiation there, so.
Just worked with Frank Oguro and Hilary Bresnahan from the Holliston School Committee. We met last week. They brought it back to their committee with Sarah and other members. No edits on their part, so confirmed that last week. They're okay with it as written, so we're good to go tonight.
And I appreciate the work that you did with Hilary and Frank to get this stuff forward for us. It's a big help to have this something like this instead of us trying to knock it out in the middle of in our meeting. So
There's
thank
beauty
you.
and simplicity here.
Absolutely, absolutely. I did have one. I'm comfortable with this. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, that's very fine.
I think the only thing I wanted to sort of bring up here is that for the school building, the makeup of the building committee, there was one question that was on there. It was the person in charge of maintenance, and it had James Keast or David Jordan. And I was just gonna suggest, if people are comfortable, to say we should make it David Jordan because James Keast is already on it as the procurement officer.
Yep.
So I think it would be nice to be able to have both of them. I think it would be good to have both of them on the
Agreed.
committee instead of James wearing two hats.
Agreed.
In my opinion.
And we'll do all those appointments by vote at this board table. So
another time.
Yep. Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up while I was thinking about it. So.
Chair, Ben, in voting the charge tonight,
Yeah.
we will then, I'd look to direct Frank to work with Chris Mayo and Dan McLeod over at the school, on the school side of things for a press release to say that we are open to letters of interest.
Yes, and I think we had talked about letters of interest going to Frank.
Right.
Just to make sure that we had a central point of contact, so it would go to the town manager's office, so anybody, if they contact the schools, they would forward it to Frank, just so that there's one person collecting it, and then and then I think we had talked about you and the working group, sort of to sort of vet the opportunities for people before they got up and running, and then once that group was running, they would handle, future appointments or changes if they needed to be made.
Right, so
Yes.
in the motion, we can have a separate motion, or we can just have consensus that.
I think
Frank-
I think it's
okay,
consensus for a
fine.
press release. I don't think we
Okay.
need to
Got
have a
it.
motion for that.
And then there will be, just to fill that out, there will be a open office hours at the center on Wednesday.
Okay.
This week, it'll be myself, Hilary, and Frank from the school committee coming over to the center to meet with anyone really who wants to come in and learn more. There's another event planned, like office hours, an evening one. I'm not going to that, but there will be a second. And then
What
we
time
are-
is it at the center?
1 o'clock, I think it is, 1 o'clock on the 29th,
Okay.
which is this Wednesday.
Okay.
Then the final piece is there will be a Just Thinking episode that Frank,
Okay.
Hilary, and I will sit down and be interviewed
Awesome.
for early May, so that is out in time. The goal is to have things lined up with the application, the SOI, letters of interest rather, open on the website, people sending them in
Yeah.
by the time of town meeting and by the time of town election, so that people can speak to it on those two big community events where everybody's coming forward. So we are up and running and ready to
And I
go.
think we want that too, because I think the eligibility period starts on June 1st.
Right.
So having it sort of like we're having all our ducks in a row, and that way when we hit June 1st, we can send all this to them and they can, because I think they won't even look at it until then. But at least we have everything ready for them for that particular point in time. So that sounds good. Damon and Frank, any other comments here? Before
No. Very at ease.
Awesome. All right, so let's take a vote to approve the charge of the Holliston School Building Committee.
Okay, move to approve the Holliston School Building Committee as presented this evening, effective tomorrow morning.
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
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 All right. Thank you very much, Tina. Thank you for your work. And thank you to Frank and Hillary for all that you've done to bring this forward. We appreciate it. And, all right. Great. All right, so we're done with number 4. Moving right along. Thank you, Sarah. Have a wonderful
night.
evening.
Good night, Sarah. Bye, Sarah.
All right, moving on to the tax work-off program updates. And this is your, sure, if you want to, that's fine. You've got a microphone over there, but they can't see you over there. So you can talk about this. So we have our Assistant Town Manager, Cheryl Houle, is here to talk a little bit about the tax work-off program updates.
Hello, Cheryl.
And I think, as I understand it, you're just gonna kind of go over what's in place now before we start making any changes. Is that kind of what we're doing?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. We're really making no substantive changes to the program. We were just sort of making the guidelines consistent for the veterans program and the senior tax workout program. There were some discrepancies in the policies that were written by people here before.
I think we can take down the.
Back
Oh,
in
whoops, yep.
2023, by the way.
Okay.
Was the last time you looked at this.
Okay.
I'd say the only significant change that, well, I'll tell you the way it works. We had selection criteria. People would submit an application. The thing is that it was barely used in Holliston. We literally have one participant right now in the program. You know, other towns have upwards of 60 people. So this is something that I was charged with when I first came, was to get this revitalized. And so I've been working with Kevin Rudden, Cynthia Lestevnik, Mallory Franceschi, myself, and consulted a little bit with Kathy Lang, the Veteran Services Officer. And the main thing that we changed was the income guidelines. The income guidelines that were being used before were the federal poverty level, and they felt that they just weren't going to get, it wasn't going to help enough people to use that. So they thought it was more sensible to use the fuel assistance guidelines that are used by the center. I did check with the town of Southborough. There are other towns that do it that way as well, so that seems to be the common income guideline. The maximum abatement is set by the state, $1,500. It's the same for veterans and for seniors. And another thing is, it was included in the language last time, but from what I understand, it was never promoted or used. But we will allow proxies to do the work for our seniors and veterans.
Sure.
And so we're going to work very hard at communicating this. We have a flyer that's in construction right now, or in design, I should say. We've been talking a lot about promoting to the town that this benefit will be available. These flyers will be placed throughout the town hall, so when people come visit, they can be found at the treasurer collector's office, the assessor's office, at the center, the veteran services office. We will share it out to the food pantries, Holliston Housing Authority. We're just going to try to get the word out on this program. We are going to limit the participation for the first year, just so we can iron out the bugs and make sure that we get it going. The other thing is I will be working with department heads, complete the next department head meeting to explain this to them, and that there are so many instances where they can use help to just get projects done that need to be done. In my last community, I had a dedicated worker, like covered phones if we had meetings. Like, there are a lot of uses that we can help these people and help ourselves.
Yes.
So that's what I plan to work on, is focusing on implementation. We've redesigned the application a little bit to ask more questions about their skills and experience, so I can hopefully make more thoughtful placements. It's not in employment though, so we hesitate to do anything like job descriptions or skills requirements. It's just seeing where people's interests lie and experience that can help the town. One community that I talked with, and I thought this was a great idea, and everyone in the community loved it as well. I think it was actually Kevin Rudden who brought it up. But Southborough does it, is they have greeters at the front of the town hall also when tax
Oh.
payments are coming in, and
That's
you can
wonderful.
have someone say, oh, where do you need to go? Upstairs,
That's a
treasurer's
great idea.
office, downstairs building, so I think there's a lot of opportunities just to
Yeah.
help out, so I'm excited about it.
Okay.
So that was all we changed, was the income guidelines, and I just made the maximums consistent. It was incorrect on the veteran services one
Gotcha.
previously, so.
Okay.
Excellent.
I had two questions.
Okay.
And that kind of, I think it's a great program, and it's too bad that more people are using it. I hope more people take advantage of it. My two questions kind of go more towards the department head guidelines.
Yes.
When I was looking at those. And the first one was, is there or should there be any language about like privacy and making sure like, private information and stuff like that is sort of considered or taken into account or anything like that, just to make sure, like, sometimes, if they're filing something or they're working in a particular place, that there might be some personal information that could be available, and just making sure that we're monitoring and ensuring that, personal information is protected in that respect. I think that was one thing.
Absolutely, that's a great idea.
And then the other thing I was looking at too is that, should there be any language about like where I don't mean it necessarily like they have to be in certain kinds of spaces, but just more like along the lines of like they have to be in person, or they have to be like in a town facility kind of thing, like, like where are they, because we don't necessarily, is the program something where they're taking work to their house or something like that, which is probably not really appropriate, but maybe having some language that say like, the expectation is the person would be in a town facility. They might be at 1750, because there's certainly like lots of different kinds of places, but like some kind of a town facility where they would be engaging with that. Those are my two comments about it. But I think it's a wonderful program, and I hope people take advantage of it if they know about it. But Tina, any comments or questions?
Just a question. You mentioned proxies, so the senior can recruit a proxy and use a proxy to perform the services or
Yes.
the work required. Is there any vetting of the proxy, or does the senior just on their own word say this person can act on my behalf, or does the town
Yeah.
vet the proxy somehow?
Yes, there.
Okay.
The language in the application. There are, actually, the assessor's office, first of all, is responsible for reviewing the applications and approving. So they would be the ones vetting that the participant or the proxy met their requirements.
Okay.
They would have to complete paperwork, like a query check, all that sort of
Okay.
thing. They will receive the W-2 for the wages, so it's going to be very important that we communicate that to the proxies, that they are doing this work for the benefit of their senior, but they are the ones getting the income.
The senior is getting the income?
The senior gets the income in the form of a tax payment,
Yeah.
but the wages earned are federally taxable, so we are required to withhold federal taxes.
Okay.
We're FICA, and we will issue a W-2 at the end of
Okay.
the year. We also have to do mandatory retirement, but I found out that they can, after each season, they can withdraw their funds. So
Okay.
the proxy would get the taxable bonus, so
Okay.
that will be vetted by the assessor's
Okay.
office, and to make sure that they do qualify.
The core check is what I was hoping you would say, so.
Oh, yes, yeah.
We've seen all good actors out there helping seniors, but you wonder.
Yeah,
How
so
do you-
they, anyone who works
Yeah.
in a town building will do a query,
Okay.
and this program will also be opened up to the school, and so they will also have a storage.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
thank you.
David?
Actually, I had a question for you because I'm riffing off of the point that you made about locationality. Do you imagine that we would want them to be in a town facility just for purposes of monitoring the work, or because of the idea that the work would necessarily require physical presence?
Probably a little of both. I would think, because I think the idea here is we wouldn't want them taking the work home with them or
Okay.
something like that. I think we want to make sure that whatever work was something that they were coming to a place. I would assume that they.
I would assume, too. I
Yeah.
really can't think of anything that,
Yeah.
I mean, if the department has come to me with something, of course, we'll consider it, but you're also talking resources for
Yeah.
remote setup and
It's
that
probably,
sort of thing,
I think.
private,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you
sure
avoid
I would-
OSHA stuff too. And
Yeah, it's probably, it's probably the easiest thing is probably to say it should be on site,
Yes.
but, but I
I'm at ease with that, no problem. So
Okay.
no further questions, thank you.
Okay. Great, I think that's, I don't know, I think you're looking for,
I'm just looking, just for a review of the,
Yeah.
the policy, just to update the date, because like I said, last time
Yes.
we reviewed it was.
yeah.
Okay, sign that tonight.
Well, is the policy ready to be signed, or are you?
It is,
Okay.
Tina has
Okay, I thought you were,
You would like a motion?
Yes,
to
we can do a
Policy
motion.
don't need any updates, but I will update the department head guidelines as requested.
yes,
And
okay,
those don't need a signature.
great, so we can take a vote on the guidelines.
Okay, move to approve the updated Town of Holliston Veterans Tax Work-Off Program guidelines as presented, with the changes as presented this evening.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
So so we'll approve that. I guess the one last thing about that is, they're good. It's just, is this something which we probably should be reviewing like every 2, 3, couple of years reasonably?
I think at least because the guidelines change periodically,
Yeah.
there were, I think in 24, they raised the abatement limit, so yeah, we'll look at it on a regular basis. And I think now that we have this committee, it's gonna be good to get feedback at the end of the year too from departments, how useful was it,
Right. Okay.
But I've seen it in use and it can be a very successful program.
And for the benefits of the meeting minutes, it's both the Veterans Tax Work-Off Program and the Senior Tax
Yes,
Work-Off
correct.
Program.
We approve both of those policies. Okay, wonderful. Cheryl, thank you very much, appreciate that. All right, moving on to, let's talk about the acceptance of a donation of Prentice Street Bonnie Drive open space parcels. Now, before you as you're bringing it up, my question for you was, it wasn't really clear to me what we were looking at. Like, I saw lots of different parcels, but like, what's already there? Are we approving all of them, approving some of them? So just needed a little bit of clarification about that as you bring these forward.
Sure. So, okay. Okay, so what we are looking at, oops.
You're gonna love these documents because they're always so gigantic. You can never get them all in
Yeah.
one page. Oh yeah.
So, what we are looking at is a parcel on Prentice Street.
Okay.
Just to orient, this is Prentice Street down at the bottom, and then towards the rear of the site, up here is Bonnie Drive,
Okay.
which I don't know if you can, right over
Yeah,
here
it's right over
is
there.
Bonnie Drive.
Looks like there's 3 parcels. Am I understanding that? The 3.92, 2.7, and a 9. Because the document itself said something about 30 acres, if I remember right. So I'm just trying to understand what we're talking about here.
Yeah, so it is the combination of these sort of 3, they sort of make an upside down U, I guess.
Okay.
That the town would take into its ownership and basically for free, and would be conveyed to the care, custody, and control of the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission, this was actually in the works probably over a year ago at this point. The concern about this parcel was that this was the site where last August the tree fell from that tragically, struck and ultimately killed the passerby, the driver of the vehicle. And so we immediately, once that happened, we obviously pumped the brakes on taking the parcel into our ownership. And so, in the meantime, the DPW and Conservation Commission, and specifically a conservation agent, have worked with the developer who owns the site, who is developing the Bonnie Drive parcels, who is managing these sites currently on behalf of the landowner. And DPW and the owner have addressed the trees that are or that were a threat to the public way. That all of that work was done at the expense of the property owner. None of that was done by the DPW, and so at this point, we're comfortable, after conferring with DPW, Conservation, and also Town Council, we are comfortable taking the parcel on, but it does require a vote of the Select Board to make it official. And not, all of that would stand, this would, even if this was a quote-unquote normal parcel, all of this would be part of the process.
Right. And then the intention, obviously, just to sort of state it out loud again, is that this land would be open space and remain as it is, which is basically forest, green space. Looks like there's probably some wetlands in there. Of course there are, it's Holliston,
Yeah.
everything's a wetland. So there's, you know, that is how it is going to remain. There's no other intention to do anything else with it.
Correct.
So, okay. Tina?
Just moving forward for preparing the motion, could I get the parcel numbers and the acreage? Or square footage?
Sure.
Acres, I think, just to call it out in the motion.
I'll pull it up on that. It's in the document.
While that's going on, just a note of clarification, is the donation of this contingent upon keeping the land in its current condition? Is that part of the donation requirement? Or do we as a town have options in the future? We have no plans at the moment. but,
Right.
Yeah, just curious to
I
know if
believe
that's-
the intention of the property owner was to keep it as open space. And to
Good to
Ben's
clarify.
point, I think most of it is,
Wetlands.
Yeah, there's not much gonna happen with it.
correct.
We have all the language, because there was one of the, in our packet.
Yep.
There's
Yeah.
language
Oh,
for the
I'm gonna
motion.
read the whole thing. Let me find
Well-
it that way, thank you.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
have to
it's
read
in,
this whole motion.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It is in the, it's in our share drive. It's under the bond.
Just give me a minute to pull it up.
Sure. Okay. You have to be very specific, because there's, this is when it's fun to be the clerk.
Fun.
The hardest one was when we had to do a bond.
Frank, could you resend it?
I was-
Yep.
You can just read mine if you want.
Yeah, all right, I'll just,
That
but I
way-
would like it for my records.
Yeah, it's in the, yeah.
You ready for the motion?
Yes.
Okay. I hereby move that the select board approve the acceptance of the donation of certain parcels of land to be held under the care, custody, and control of the Conservation Commission pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8C, known as 1, Parcel A and Parcel B on a plan entitled Definitive Open Space Subdivision, Triangle Farm, prepared for Thomas Murch and all, trustee of the Murch Prentice Realty Trust, prepared by GLM Engineering Consultants Incorporated, dated May 8th, 2020, and recorded as Plan Number 673 of 2021 in the Middlesex South Registry of Deeds. And 2, Parcel D and Parcel D3 on a plan of land entitled Plan of Land, Holliston, Massachusetts, Scale 1=100, dated February 11th, 2025, prepared for Thomas Murch and all, trustee by GLM Engineering Consultants Incorporated, 19 Exchange Street, Holliston, Mass. 01741, to be recorded in the Middlesex South Registry of Deeds. And 3, the land referred to as Lot 4 on a plan entitled Definitive Open Space Subdivision, Bonnie Drive Extension, prepared for Thomas Murch et al. And all, trustee of the Murch Prentice Realty Trust, dated August 28th, 2023, and recorded as Plan Number 446 of 2024 in Middlesex Registry of Deeds.
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Yes.
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 Tina, thank you. That was a mouthful.
Mm.
All right. I think we're good on that. Okay. Moving on to vote to authorize the town's participation in the remnant defendant opioid settlement agreement. Frank, if you could introduce this and tell us a little bit about what we're talking about this evening.
Sure. So the firm representing the town in opioid settlement litigation has approached us about participating in another settlement. This one is called the 6 Remnant Defendant Settlement Agreements.
Say that 5
Basic-
times fast.
There are, as the name suggests, there are 6 companies out there that were not included in previous settlement agreements. The total estimated value of the settlement, and this isn't the amount that would go just to the town, this is basically the big pot that's out there that would be distributed to all the participating entities, is roughly $97.6 million. As we have in the past, the firm who's representing us on these matters has recommended that the town participate, which again requires the select board's approval.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the select board about that?
None.
None for me.
I do not have any. I think we can take a motion to authorize the town's participation in the remnant defendant opioid settlement agreement.
I am having trouble finding that agenda packet. I just want to make sure there's not specific language in order to do that. I don't think so. It sounds like as written is fine as a motion.
Yes, that's totally
Okay.
fine.
Move to, and we're authorizing you the town manager, yeah.
Mhm.
Move to authorize the town manager to,
Sign on behalf of the
yeah,
town.
sign on behalf of the town, the town's participation in the remnant defendant opioid settlement agreement.
All right.
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
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 All right, that's good. Okay, I'm going to move the number 9 to go before public comment this evening. Because we have some updates here about the DPW facility project, and there might be some people who have public comment, and I'd rather them hear before public comment what we're talking about, so that way they don't necessarily have to make comments about something that could be changing before they get there. So, that being said, so we're gonna take 9 out of order before public comment. So, talk about the town meeting warrant. Before this meeting, we had a conversation about Cross Street. So just to let people know, like, we had voted on using Cross Street for a DPW facility in 2023. And I got up in front of town meeting and asked people to support it, and people supported it. We got a debt override passed. All sorts of things happening, and as land court was slow and did not appear to be moving in any direction to come forward, we decided to pursue other options. So that led us to the Arch Street location. Now we're hearing, like, literally within days of the decision to go forward with a potential debt exclusion for Arch Street, we're hearing that Cross Street is possibly coming out of land court very, very soon. And in the interest of full transparency and doing our full due diligence, we want to have a discussion about potentially pausing on Arch Street until we can have better answers about Cross Street. So that's kind of what we're here to talk about right now. And since there's an article on the town meeting warrant about the Arch Street location, we wanted to see if it makes sense to press pause on that article at this time. And it wouldn't meaningfully impact things if we waited till October to go forward with that. We could still do that if we needed to, but at least to find out more information about Cross Street and to see how that potential site looks going forward. Part of what we would want to be looking at with Cross Street is Cross Street could potentially be less expensive than Arch Street for a number of reasons. Obviously, we don't have a mock-up, we don't have drawings, but there's certain things that are happening. For example, the amount of fill that has to go in, the retaining wall that has to go in at Arch Street, those would not be needed at a Cross Street location, and those have some significant costs to the Arch Street. So therefore, it's sort of in our interest of the town's interest, to look at whether or not the Cross Street location is viable, to see if it is coming out of land court soon, and what we do with that. So the reason we're sort of bringing this up at this point is to sort of ask the question to the board whether or not it makes sense to pause on the DPW facility at Arch Street at this time and potentially take it off the warrant entirely. And was interested to hear, Tina, Damon, your thoughts about that. I believe, in the interest of not confusing people, probably the best answer would be I think we should wait to find out what's going on with Cross Street. I think there's meaningful savings and there's meaningful interest in doing so, and I think we should take it off, the Arch Street location off the warrant, because to leave it on would be confusing for people and could potentially generate conversations that don't necessarily need to happen at this time. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts about it. So that's my position and sort of bringing this forward. I think I got everything right, Frank? I think so? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we're just talking generally. The immediate thing at hand is the warrant for town meeting and the Arch Street location, given Cross Street potential as an option. So, Tina, I'm interested to hear what you think about Cross Street and,
Sure.
and what we should do for town meeting.
We've been at this work since 2021, and you know.
Feels like longer.
Right. This has been an iterative process from the get-go. We have been looking continually to fine tune this project so that it comes across best to meet the operational needs, best to improve efficiency, most importantly, address the safety concerns we have for our staff who work in the DPW facilities at a cost and a lift for residents and taxpayers that is manageable. So we have constantly been refining this project over the years. So this feels like a very natural next step to reopen consideration of Cross Street with new information. I think that's a commitment we have always made, and I'm pleased that we're going to continue. So I support the idea of pulling the article from the warrant in order to do due diligence on the Cross Street site. I think that I know that when we hear from residents and voters, taxpayers, on the impact, either because it's going to be near them or because it's going to affect them in the property tax bill, we hear a number of concerns come up, and we've been trying to address them through the process we've been engaged in. Cross Street offers some solutions for some of the major concerns that we have heard. We know that site work at Cross Street will be different and likely less. We know that Cross Street is an industrial zoned area currently, whereas other parcels we've looked at over the years have been either open space or residential. We know that with the news from Land Court, the timeline has accelerated on the town being able to take ownership of Cross Street. Timeline has been one of the pressing pressures on the select board and the town to address the DPW facilities. And so it's very good news to hear that Cross Street is close to foreclosure. The town is close to ownership of that. So this feels very much like the right thing to do. I wholeheartedly support it.
Okay. And I think one thing, as I was listening to Tina, just to bring up, is also, there are concerns about what's in the ground there, and we haven't been able to get on site to test it. But we also have heard from DEP and the EPA that they're very interested in supporting the town in that respect still. So that would be very helpful for the town to be able to know that we're not going this alone. We wouldn't have to necessarily do all the work ourselves. But that's also is a consideration here as well.
And Ben, it's probably worth stating that, in my wholehearted support of this, I understand it is not a commitment to move the project to Cross Street.
It's
it is
to look at it.
Yeah, a commitment to the due diligence, to understand what we need to understand to continue to put forward the very best, most cost-effective project for the town of Holliston. So yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think the Cross Street location has been talked about well before my tenure on this board, and having some familiarity with it, it offers some big fiscal and logistical upsides, but also some big caveats that I think we still have to look into. Sure. I think as a select board for a town that does not want to be penny wise and pound foolish, we have a fiscal responsibility or fiduciary responsibility to look into this a little bit further, because some of those upsides could spell some significant savings, but we don't want to go in there blind. So I agree that what you're proposing is the right move. I think I'm hopeful for what the outcome could be.
Yep.
But again, this is not a commitment. It is, however, something that I think we absolutely must do. We owe it to the taxpayer and to the voter.
Yeah, and we're pushing pause for now. It's not, we'll have better answers in the fall, and we can figure out what the right course of action is at that time. So I think, so the first motion, if people are amenable, I'd like to take a motion to reopen the May 2026 town meeting warrants.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Yep.
Yes?
Yep.
All right, so the meeting, okay?
I said yup, and I'm like, no, not yup, yes, it's a yes.
And so what we're proposing to do, I think the best thing we sort of talked about was we would remove Article 20, which is the feasibility, the funding for a DPW facility at Arch Street, and we would remove it entirely, and I will speak to it at town meeting, and we will, we should also include it like in a letter in front to say, hey, this has been removed. But we remove it, and then we would renumber everything past that.
Yep.
Is that?
And just to be clear, the ballot has to remain, I know we've already discussed,
change
but the ballot deadline has passed. It's too late to withdraw it, but even if for some reason it were to pass, it would have basically no impact.
Right. Okay.
No worries there.
And just a point of information to add, I think we discussed this in the past, but the challenges with the current DPW location are very real, and I imagine we'll still have to take some action in the near future to make sure that place stays functional.
Yes.
What we're talking about here is the investment in the full new property.
Right.
And the full new facilities, not in pausing any fixes that we might need. to
I
keep
think
things
we're
running.
still moving forward as quickly as possible, that's reasonable, but, if there's material savings from moving the facility, and there's, some of the concerns about location, I think it's in our best interest to explore them and to make sure that it works, because that's the best interest of the town, is to save money and do right by residents.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
we need to make sure that Cross Street is, we do our due diligence on Cross Street. So, yes, it does not preclude us from fixing this situation. It's
Is
just,
remediation still needed regardless?
we still need to fix the Arch Street and Central Street locations. They're still a major issue. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Oh, no, we have not made a motion.
We need a motion to close the warrant with the renumbering.
Why don't let's remove the article, and we can say that as part of the motion that we're going to renumber, and then we can close the warrant as a separate motion.
Sure. I move to remove Article 20, the DPW funding article, with renumbering of all articles to follow.
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
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 So we'll do that. We will remove it entirely. I'd like to have some language in a letter that says that we're doing that. And so like we can have a letter, we can come up with something that says here's what we're gonna do, here's what's happening in the warrant, and then this change has been made at this time. And it's not gonna significantly sideline the
Sure.
project.
A couple changes on the town website, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
Because it's certainly posted that we'll be voting on May 6th, May 11th rather, for the DPW
Yes.
article. And then some careful wording on the ballot question, because that's also on the town website. So how
Yeah.
you choose to do that, but
Yes.
update the website.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we've taken that article off, we've renumbered, and now let's vote to close the warrant.
All right, move to close the.
Can I just add
Oh,
one
yeah,
more
yeah.
quick
Of
thing?
course,
Just, there were those few minor things that Liz Lyden had sent over about using the word adapt as opposed to, adopt as opposed to accept, or vice versa.
Oh,
For the assessor's articles, so I changed those as well.
Okay,
Or
so
I would like to change those as
I
well.
think we can, authorize the town manager, we can accept those changes.
Okay.
Why don't we just accept those changes?
Yep,
Because
sounds good.
they're actually part of the article itself, they're not the
Correct.
comments. Okay, if they're actually part of the article, so,
All right, so the warrant's still open.
yes, so
And
move to accept the changes, yeah.
do you want to specify which article numbers, or?
They
does it
are
matter?
articles, 9 through 16.
All right, move to amend the language of Articles 9 through 16 for non-substantive changes as presented this evening.
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
All right, and anything else before we close the warrant?
That is it.
Okay.
For the last time.
Yes, okay, we are gonna close the warrant, and could we have a motion to close?
Yep, move to close the warrant for the annual May 2026 town meeting.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
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 All right, and then the last thing to do here, there's two other things. So first is comments. Did everybody review the comments that are in there and made any changes to their to the comments?
Review the comments.
That's pretty
Yes, oh, for the warrant, yes.
Yes.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay, so everybody's comfortable with the comments, and then I don't think we need to vote to sign it, because I think we already approved everything on it, so. But,
It's usually
I
a
don't
working
believe it was.
document anyway.
Yeah.
so I think we can, we can sign the warrant tonight.
Okay.
Because we've accepted everything that's in
Yep.
there, and we're comfortable with the language and stuff and such, so we're good with voting on it. Is everybody comfortable with that? I mean, not signing, excuse me. It's not even 9 o'clock, and I can't even speak
I'll say,
yet.
what are we signing?
What are we signing? We are signing the town meeting warrant, so we can get it published officially and printed. Okay, great. All right, so we're done with number 9. Okay, now we're going to backtrack. Thank you for your patience, everyone. I appreciate that. I just wanted to bring that forward because I know sometimes people might have had questions about the DPW, and I did not want them to think one thing and then we go and change it right thereafter. So we are here for public comments. Anyone in the room? Don't all jump at once. Okay. I see Liz Tyler's hand raised. Before I take your comments, Liz, I'm just gonna say, If anyone else on the Zoom has a comment at this time for public comments, please raise your hand under the reaction button, although Zoom likes to change things, so I'm sure I'm probably getting it wrong. So just please raise your hand and we can acknowledge you and hear your comment. And if for some reason you do not get heard, please also feel free to contact the town manager's office and we can read your comment in at another time via email as well. That is also an option. So Liz Tyler, you can unmute yourself and you can give us your comment this evening. Welcome. Just name and address.
Dr. Liz Tyler, 17 Norland Street. I'd like to work with you to protect our drinking water supply. This is a plea to you as the only elected official, the select board, who we can speak to about the water department. There are no meetings. Every other department has a board. We have a board of health with members. We have a conservation commission. We have a zoning board. We have numerous other boards. But for our water, which affects every single resident of Holliston every single day, there is no recourse to a board. I want to focus specifically on the issues that could be addressed, I hope will be addressed, with regard to the 40B. The water department has been silent since October, as far as I know. I should say it wasn't the water department at the time, it was the select board. And there's a presumption that the DEP has the last word on a 40B application, but that is not true. As you saw in the copy of the Stowe decision. In the Stowe situation, the project's single septic system would have been in close proximity to drinking water wells used by an abutting affordable housing complex and other single-family residences. And that was certainly it was a 37-unit apartment building. And we are talking about a 250-unit rental unit. The 194 Lowland Street, the entire complex is on the very shallow, less than 20 feet aquifer in Zone 2 of 3 of Holliston's wells, producing 70% of our drinking water. Where are the public meetings of the water department providing info into for the residents? There are no public meetings, yet the elected officials that should provide opportunities to keep the public informed are the select board. Perhaps you may want to just consider, if the select board does not have time to deal with water issues, perhaps you should consider going back to our previous situation where we had water commissioners. The residents need to have access to some elected officials about this very important commodity. The agenda for the April 27th, that's tonight's meeting, includes requests for agenda items. So I'm requesting that you place the effect of 194 Lowland on our drinking water onto the agenda.
Okay.
I'm asking you because we need, one of the details is that 194 Lowland is going to produce 46,000 gallons of effluent that are going to flow into our aquifer and flow directly to well number 5. I have sent you all this map, and it's very clear that well number 5 is here, right here, And the direction of this water flow is directly to well number 5. Well number 5 is the most productive of our wells. And, you know, if the agenda can include, and you have time to think about liquor licenses, hall rentals, then maybe that's something that the town manager could do, and you wouldn't have to discuss it at your meetings. I just think that you personally know, I know in our neighborhood, there are concerns about the quality of our water. Everyone in my neighborhood has either a filter or and someone just told me she was moving over to reverse osmosis, or they buy bottled water. There are concerns. This is a health issue. And the water department, I'm asking you to put this on the agenda so we know what is the water department doing? What kind of tests are they doing? How do they know that this 46,000 gallons of effluent is not going to damage the quality of our drinking water? What kind of tests have they done?
Okay. All right, we can put it on a future agenda to discuss. We don't have it tonight, so we don't really have a lot to say at this time, but we can put it on a future agenda.
I would really appreciate that you put this important issue on the agenda.
Okay.
Specifically, how it deals with the 194 Lowland Street.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you, Liz. Appreciate it. Are there any other public comments tonight? I see a raised hand on Ellen. If you could unmute yourself and give us your name and address and your public comment this evening.
Sure. My name is Ellen Troland. I live at 101 Maryland Street, and I want to speak to that water issue as well. I tried to get some information from Mr. Reese. I sent him an email. I wondered, I asked him in an email, I said, I wondered if you had done any studies about whether our current system can handle the increased demand created by these apartments that are being offered by the state. Also, it'd be nice to have current testing over there for current state of toxic forever chemicals as a baseline. Are there any plans to do that before the meeting? That was referring to a meeting that was happening on the 11th, but the 11th probably of April. And his response to me was, I am in charge of the water system. We can meet the anticipated pumping capacity and are in compliance with PFAS, PFOS sampling. We will not be doing any additional PFAS testing in the area. Again, please bring forth your questions regarding this project to the public forums that we'll be having. Yes, there are multiple decisions to be made regarding public pedestrian safety in the project itself. Please use the link to see all current information. And I replied that was an inadequate response because I'm a lay person that just had questions about the water, which has been an issue since 2013. I'm not drinking the water. I'm buying water, and I'm paying for water infrastructure improvements. I just hope somebody takes charge of this issue and speaks to the ZBA so they know what a concern it is for us, because if it's not presented by the water people, it's just going to get passed, and it should. This is our water supply that we rely on. We just can't hook up on MWRA the snap of a finger. It would take a huge expense and huge construction. And we're already building our, pipes in the water. We have enough construction going on.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to say. And I feel like there's a laissez-faire attitude among Board of Health too, because they're like, oh, the DEP, we trust that they'll do a good job. It doesn't involve us. We're not the experts. These are quotes from various members when we participate. It just doesn't seem like they take it serious enough.
Okay.
That's my final comment. I just appreciate you letting me talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you for your comment tonight. Any other public comments this evening? All right, hearing none, we're going to move on to select board member updates. All right. Tina.
Sure. So on Saturday, I attended the Garden Club, Holliston Garden Club, Tree City USA, and Arbor Day celebration, read the proclamation, so many thanks to Donna Muzzy for helping to draft that and prepare it for a very nice presentation to, again, the Holliston Garden Club. The flag was flying for Tree City USA. That was great to see. There was a huge crowd, and they planted a new tupelo tree to the right of the pavilion as you're looking at. And it was very nice. But what they also called out was the work that the Garden Club has been doing related to Tree City USA. So I'm going to share just two tidbits of fun fact here in Holliston. We have 2 trees of distinction that have been recognized, I think, by the Arbor Day Foundation. They received some formal recognition, a bit like historic preservation kind of recognition or historic structure. One is the moon tree in front of the police station, and the second is a silver maple that is on, I think, the corner of School Street and Mechanic Street, but it has a diameter of over 16 feet and is 350 years old. So I wanted to just pass that along, but many thanks to the Holliston Garden Club for doing the work that they do here in Holliston, and I was pleased to represent the board in the town and present the proclamation. I'll be, like I mentioned before, Wednesday at 1 p.m. at the center with members of the Holliston School Committee to talk about the school building committee being created and looking for membership. And then wanted to check in too with the 2 of you about both the police memorial event. I think it's Friday the 9th, is that right?
No, it's the 15th.
The 15th, thank you.
Yeah.
So the event to go to the cemetery with the police.
I'm planning to attend.
You are planning to attend that?
I'm planning
okay.
to attend that.
I just wanted to make sure one of us, if not more, we're going to be there. And then do we want to talk about the Memorial Day Parade? I've got my calendar wide open, so
I may be open at that point. I'll double check. So
okay.
we can help out with
Yeah, I think I would probably looking to attend.
Okay.
I think so. We can maybe we can talk about it at a town meeting and decide. We have a little bit more clarity, and then we can decide at that point who's gets to do the speech.
Okay, that's all I had for select board updates for me.
Yeah, I have a few things I wanted to chat about. Interestingly, one of them is 194 Loveland Street.
Okay.
So might come as a bit of a surprise because I generally am in favor of high-density housing, and I'm not even against that location. I think it would be a fine use of it. But after having looked into it a little bit, I do have some slight concerns about the Aquifer District and the Well 5 issues. As you guys already know, the Mass DEP, they did have a review, I think it was in January, and I'm sorry if I don't have the details wrong, this is all kind of flowing, but they did flag kind of oil odors and stained soil in the area, and then thinking about the size of a septic system that would go in there, and I'm kind of curious to know, I actually don't know who would cover the costs, but I'd be interested in doing a contaminant transport study. Say under these conditions, do the contaminants move in place? I really don't know. Maybe we don't need a study for that. I also believe that the developer has proposed water resource recovery facility, so it's not a pure septic system. It's kind of like the gold standard of septic systems. Again, not my area. I'll defer to other people in town who know that a little bit better. But even so, there is a ton of effluent, and I'm aware of other technologies that might be better and that we might be able to either insist on or ask for, like membrane bioreactors, which are really very good at filtering out a lot of these harmful chemicals that might come through a sewage system. And I think it would be interesting to tackle those a little bit more head on. I do think that the DEP is trying to do its best, and I actually do feel fairly comfortable deferring to them on quite a lot of issues. But it seems like maybe a little bit of an extra push, or us being a little bit more vocal, might yield better results. I don't know where I want to begin with that, but I'm just letting you all know that it's been on my mind a little bit. I don't know if I'm in a position to lead the charge on that per se, but there are some questions I want to start to provoke, just to make sure that if there are opportunities for improvements to that plan, that we that's basically it. So I'll pause there if anyone wants to chat about that.
Well, hearing what you're saying, I'm just wondering about a select board effort from one of the 3 of us to attend the ZBA hearings, so we're tracking what's going on better. I mean, we always have the opportunity to watch a recording after, and we certainly communicate with others about before and after, but in the past we've done that. Town meeting prep can be a heavy lift.
Yes, absolutely.
And certainly coming out of the budget season, but I wonder moving forward if that's not a good thing, is to have representation from the select board on the ZBA hearings to track And so when residents show up to make comments, we're informed, one of us is informed to that level of detail.
Yeah.
Is that something you'd be interested in doing? It's a heavy lift.
Maybe the
time-wise.
conversation after
Yeah.
after we get through town meeting, I'm certainly
Okay.
Yeah,
somewhat open to it. I'm not an expert in this field though, which is what concerns me, right? So I've had to do a lot of backfilling of my own knowledge, and my confidence level in my own knowledge is fairly low there.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where, as I'm putting together pieces, I'm like, well, there's probably a bit more that could be done. Whether or not we can extract that bit more from the powers that be, or if we would have to take responsibility for it, is the question that I actually am not sure about municipal-wise. So I'll have to look into that a bit more.
Yeah, I think probably the question becomes, I mean, we certainly have a conversation about it in an agenda, and I think there's no question that that's a totally reasonable thing to do. I think I think we have to get a little bit of clarity on what kind of conversations we can have in this case, because 40Bs are so particular.
Exactly.
And it's not, I mean, certainly we did provide information, and then in the letter that was provided that said, we're concerned about this, but I think we do need to sort of understand, what is our role here? Has the ZBA solicited from others? Do they want us to give them a letter? Do they want us to give them, what kind of information is appropriate to give to them, to give to residents? I mean, certainly for residents, I think there could be an opportunity for a forum there. To have that conversation, and we've done similar kinds of things about traffic and different kinds of locations, but I think I'd like to get some clarity is to understand what kind of product we can give to the ZBA, if any. Do they want to get a technical letter? Do they want what kinds of things? But we certainly can solicit feedback and give them that opportunity. But for residents, but I think my concern there isn't giving people that chance. It's more that, if we're getting the same information that the ZBA is already getting, we're just, it's not necessarily adding to something. But I mean, certainly from our perspective, if they want to hear from us as a board and input, I think that's reasonable. But if we're just sort of collecting more public comments about it, they're getting that. And I don't, and that's not really going to add value or really going to move the needle significantly. As important as public comment is, it's just not. We want to be adding and generating conversation and helping things move forward, not just doing the same thing.
Brian Winter updated this board, gave a presentation on how we work through as a town, how we work through a 40B application. Is it worth, in your mind, Ben and Damon, getting maybe some input from Brian Winter on what's allowed under MGL, Mass General Law, for select boards to weigh in on or participate in first as like a gate?
I mean, I think he gave us a document. I think he gave us a document, and I think we have some information, and I think that is certainly something we could certainly follow up with. But I would start with the ZBA, just to say to them, I know they've gotten, I was just looking at their stuff, and they got some feedback from other boards. I know I've heard other communities doing this when it comes to the 40B, is they'll have hey, today we're going to talk about traffic. We want to have input about traffic, and this is the thing. We have that consultant, blah, blah, blah. Are they doing something similar, or are they just kind of, so that way we can add a piece to the conversation at the right time, rather than just, putting it out in the ether and not really being part of the conversation. So I think I would just want to get some clarity from the ZBA, and I think we can, one of the things, to Tina's point, what I'll do is I'll collect all their summaries and minutes, and then I can sort of figure out what have they talked about so far and what has gone on. We can have a general summary from that.
I feel like I just made homework for you. That wasn't my
Honestly,
intent.
it takes me 5 minutes, so it's not that hard. So I'm sorry, I hijacked your
worries.
thing. So, but I think it is something we should talk about, but I think we should go in with the understanding of what we're actually going to produce from the conversation, and and I think that's something that we need to be able to have.
And where we can actually have impact. Right?
And if we're able to have impact, how and what is the right way to approach that to make sure that it is impactful. Okay.
I have another point.
Yep.
So just a quick heads up on this, something I've been working on. I've been speaking with Frank about it. Problem statement, we tend to evaluate capital expenditures a little bit in isolation. And I think that we three have a pretty good sense of kind of what the costs and benefits are of various capital expenditures, everything from a very small thing, park benches, whatnot, sidewalks, all the way to gigantic things like DPW and the school. But I've been trying to figure out if there's a way we can make this information a little bit more public. And so I've been working on a scoring mechanism drawn a little bit from my corporate background, but kind of fleshed out for municipality. And at some point, I will have Frank circulate some ideas. I need to figure out how to do that, because I guess it's sort of informational, not yet a policy discussion. But the idea is essentially to have a system that I'm calling PRICE, which is a basically a number generated from population served, risk of inaction or deferment, impact per resident served, confidence in the documentation behind the project, and the effective cost net of any grants relative to our spending/borrowing capacity. And the idea would be that, although that sounds complicated, it would be like for any capital expenditure, we could basically chart on a 1 to 5 scale the impact of all of those factors, and that would come up with a number that would give us a relative prioritization for how important something is. It's not a decision-making engine. It's not a thing that we would say, oh, that's a 5, that's more important than a 4, but it would give us a way to talk about it and to actually say things like, oh, we see that although this is a very large expenditure, it affects 90% of the population versus this thing over here, which impacts 50%, but maybe has a smaller cost balance. I'm personally hungry for something like this, because I find that our constituents, other boards and committees, and we ourselves often talk about things based on like a gut reckoning of how important something is, and I trust our gut reckoning, but I think it leaves us in a weird political position where when we start to get into the granularity of what should take priority, we don't really have numbers at helm to have that conversation. And so I'd like to have something like that, even if it's just something that we use as a board. And maybe it doesn't work, but based on my eyeballing, it probably means something between like 10 and 23 projects a year might be able to be charted this way, and it could just be an Excel spreadsheet, just a way for us to have a conversation about what's worth spending a lot on, what's worth borrowing for. Do two giant things like a DPW and a high school really like converge? Are they things that need to fight for money? What do we do? These are real questions, and we're going to have to answer them. And right now, I think we are basically going on our own gut reckoning and internal knowledge of what things are worth. And I'd like to expose these things and make numbers real and visible for people. Just something I'm working on.
I see it as a great community engagement tool, like when we go into a public forum or we are presenting something new. It's a great way to present to the public, why this project.
Yep.
I see that as useful. I see it as something to consider in much more detail, potentially as we set priorities for the year ahead. Once we reorganize for the next fiscal year, right? Because we're going to reorganize, right? Yeah. Anyway, fiscal year. That it's a way in which we frame the decisions for the year ahead. I think that's a very appropriate time to have a conversation like that.
I'm not precious about it, by the way. Like I don't have like a.
No,
I'm not wedded to the idea, but I'm yearning for something that kind of exposes our priors on things.
You are also articulating thoughts that you hear often from residents, which is basically why this?
Right.
Why is this a priority for the town to spend money on, and how much money is it going to cost, and why are we doing it? So no, I think it's a clever way, important way to think about things.
Yeah, I think the hard part of these kinds of things, and you're kind of alluding to it, one of the challenges we wind up having is that we're very good at talking out. We're not good at talking horizontally.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
in the mind of one board, this is the most important thing in the universe, and this is something we have to critically work on. And another board says this is something so critical and important, and then we wind up all kind of bringing it to residents and hoping that they can parse through it. And there needs to be some kind of mechanism, and I think we have work to do on that end to get there. I think my only concern about some of those things, I think it's a great idea. My concern sometimes is that we wind up, the metric becomes the focus instead of a tool within it. And, and so I think we just want to be careful with some of those things. And you see it sometimes where like school testing. Like the school testing was meant to be a metric to measure success, and it wound up becoming the most important thing that everybody worked towards. So the metrics become the thing. So I'm not saying that's what it's going to happen, but I just might, I perk up a little bit, because if we're using it, I think it could be useful. But when we start evaluating, well, we evaluated your project, and you're not under our jurisdiction, and we think your project is less important. It sort of can. I think there's other logistics, but I think from a conceptual standpoint, I think it's a very interesting.
Yeah, the
idea.
trick is to make it as objective as possible, so it's not like sentiment analysis. Like, of course, mine is a 5. It's got to be like a specific number is some kind of a threshold, probably logarithmically, but more to come.
Cool.
More to
Yeah,
come.
I think it's a cool idea, and I think we need to explore it and figure out ways to use it.
That's it.
Okay.
That's what I got.
I got two things. My Wednesday's very busy. We have an OPEB trust meeting on Wednesday afternoon. We'll go through that. Is our consultant coming for that, or is it just gonna be us talking?
I believe it's just us. I can double check with Chris.
Okay, but yeah, we have to do it every year, go through it. It's the chair of the select board, the chair of the school committee, the treasurer, the town manager, and
Chair of the finance committee.
no,
Are you
he's
saying
not. He can't. He can be part of it, but he can't vote.
Oh,
Because by bylaw, he's not a member, a voting member.
There's also an appointed member on
And
there.
there's an appointed member. Yes, there is an at-large resident. Who's
You
on.
can designate Damon.
No, you can't. The bylaw specifically states it's the chair, because we tried that one year and we got in trouble for that.
I think I just got voluntold. Yeah,
It's
what's
specifically,
happening
no,
right
because
now?
we tried to do exactly
Just
that.
making sure you're awake.
We designated somebody, and we got in trouble because we had to do it again.
Did you not offer Tina the crawler?
I did. I know.
It's not even after 9.
You suggest one framework and you're like, under the bus.
So,
Did you want work?
and then the other thing is Envisioning Future Holliston is going to meet on Wednesday evening as well. And we'll
Busy
gonna go
day.
through. Yeah, got a busy day going through a couple different things, and going to. I think part of my my presentation for town meeting, I intend to sort of incorporate a little bit of the strategic plan and the pillars of the strategic plan in the presentation, and make sure that people are aware of it and make it as part of how things are looked at. So just bringing those forward, and then we don't have a meeting next week, so our next meeting will be May 11th. Will be before town meeting.
And we were talking about a public forum. We're not doing that, of course, because
We don't
it
need
was
to.
specific to Article 20.
Exactly. All right, warrants.
Okay, so we have 2 warrants signed since our last meeting. April 13th, an amount of $1,308,485.83. Another on April the 21st, $2,495,939.79. I also want to acknowledge a $400 donation from the Holliston Superette for the Center's Nutrition Fund, as well as a $1,000 gift from Holliston Oil for the Holliston Trails Committee gift account. So very generous gifts.
Very generous.
Thank you.
To both of those organizations.
Thank you very much. Okay. Comments from the town manager.
Okay, I had to skip last week, so a few things to update the community on this evening. Very pleased to announce that this coming Friday, May 1st, Congressman James McGovern will visit us here at Town Hall to talk about the importance of the Downtown Sewer Initiative and highlight the federal funding that he's been able to secure for the project so far. We'll start right out here in front of Town Hall to hear from town officials, Senate President Karen Spilka, Representative James Arena DeRosa, and the Congressman, obviously. And then we'll proceed towards the downtown to view the proposed district and the potential that it offers. Please join us if you are interested in learning more. I also want to start tonight by thanking the Dull Men's Club for having me again last week. It was my pleasure to speak to this group about the issues that the town will be discussing and voting on at the May 2026 town meeting. This was my second time meeting with the group, and I'm already looking forward to the third later this year. If you're interested in learning more about the Dull Men's Club, contact the center and learn when their next meeting is. I'm sure they'll put you in touch with Ed. Just an awesome time, and I'll encourage anyone who's interested in attending to do so. If you are a member of a town board or committee, please consider joining us on April the 28th at noon or May 5th at 7 p.m. for a DEI training webinar, an offering to help the town meet its goals outlined in the strategic plan. The town has partnered with Equity Inclusion Specialists to host these 2 webinars. The sessions will focus on helping board and committee members to support a welcoming and inclusive community through their own strategic work. For additional information, please contact the town manager's office, and also a special shout out to Cheryl for getting all this together.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl.
This coming Friday, I will be sitting down for an episode of Just Thinking that will be released, I'm assuming, shortly after that following week to go over the town meeting warrant, so keep your eyes peeled for that. This Saturday is Holliston History Day. Join us in Blair Square from 1 to 4 for historic walking tours of the rail trail and to learn more about the history of the rail in Holliston, and to spend an afternoon seeing what incredible local businesses downtown Holliston has to offer. A number of businesses will be offering specials, So keep an eye on the town website to learn what those are. Rushford and Sons will be donating $1 for every Holliston IPA sold to the Holliston Historical Society. TC Scoops will have a $5 ice cream special, and we're also promoting a farewell event of sorts for the Holliston Grill. We'll be closing its doors sometime in May, so stop by to say farewell to them as well. Looking ahead to town meeting, a reminder that this May's town meeting will be held on May 11th at the high school, beginning promptly at 7 p.m. So please arrive early to allow time for check-in. The town election will take place the following week on Tuesday, May 19th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. The deadline to register to vote is May 1st, and the deadline to apply to vote by mail is May 12th. There will be no in-person early voting for the town election. Please contact the town clerk's office for additional questions or concerns. That is the town manager update for April 27th, 2026. To stay up to date with town events, please subscribe to the Town Hall Digest for recaps of select board meetings, important dates and deadlines, and more. That's all I got.
Nice. Thank you. All right. Moving on to request to approve the one-day beer and wine permit for September 17th in Upper Town Hall from 4:30 to 10 for Celebrate Holliston Citizen of the Year Awards. I know they did this at Bertucci's back in the day, but there's no Bertucci's. So here we are.
Whatever happened to that place?
I have no comments on that except to say it's a great event.
All right.
Move to approve the one-day beer and wine permit for the 17th of September, Upper Town Hall, 4:30 to 10 for the Celebrate Holliston Citizen of the Year Awards.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
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 And there was a request to waive the license fee for said event.
We have that under both 13 and 14 under our consent agenda. Would you like to leave it there or call it out specially?
Oh, whoops. That's likely.
Well, the other one has we called it out. I think we can do
Okay.
that because I think the other request for waiver of fees was the holiday stroller vendor space. So there was two.
Oh, there were
events.
two.
There were
Oh,
two events
I'm
for
seeing
this
so I
consent
didn't read
agenda.
all the way. Okay, all right. So move to waive the permit fee for a one-day beer and wine permit for the Celebrate Holliston Citizen of the Year Award on the 17th.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
You're busy, Celebrate Holliston.
Yes. Any objections to the consent agenda? The only thing we'll change is that the C will only be for the waiver of fees for the holiday stroll vendor space.
Okay, and I was wondering if we could just read Sarah Baroud. She's also on.
Yes, Sarah is here.
On the call. Oh, there
yes,
she is.
Yeah. Sarah, welcome. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to. You're certainly welcome to if you'd like to. If you don't mind, we could read your letter for your appointment to Youth and Family Services Advisory Board, if you're amenable to that.
Sure. Hi. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Sarah. Tina, you want to?
Oh, Sarah, would you like to read it or would you like me to? Your choice.
I don't have it in front of me, so if
All
you
right.
can, that would be amazing.
In Sarah Baroud's voice, which we just hear, dear Select Board members, I am delighted to be submitting my letter of intent to join the Holliston Youth and Family Services Advisory Committee. Comment here, I can't think of a better person, Sarah. I grew up in Milford, Mass. And have been a Holliston resident since 2011. My husband and I have 2 children in the Holliston Public Schools, currently in kindergarten and 2nd grade. I am a clinical social worker and received my master's degree in social work in 2010 from Simmons University. That's why I like you so much, because I'm also an alum, Sarah. I have worked in outpatient settings and have learned a great deal about municipalities, having worked at Westwood Youth and Family Services for 7 years as a clinician, supervisor, and interim director. Currently, I have my own private practice with a specialty in perinatal mental health. I am proud to serve as the treasurer for the Mass chapter of Postpartum Support International. I'm a big believer in the importance of both macro and micro social work to best support people with communities. Advocating for policy change at the state level to improve maternal health outcomes is also important to me. I believe I would bring a strong blend of perspective to this committee from both personal and professional lenses. Thank you for your consideration, Sarah Baroud. Fantastic.
Awesome.
I will make a motion to appoint Sarah.
I'll happily second it.
Okay.
All right. All those in favor?
Yes.
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 For a term to expire June 27th.
Yes. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much for submitting
Thank you,
your.
Sarah.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you. Thank you. All right, and so let's take B, D, and the Citizen of the Year waiver of fees.
Okay, and Frank, we do not have to call out B for, there's no need for a public hearing on that.
It's a junk license, I think. I think that's different than it's
Class
not.
threes.
It's not a. We're not talking about a automobile sales.
Class 2.
Yeah, the junk licenses are handled differently. But
Move
we can,
to-
if you want me to just
Nope.
triple check, I can.
Nope. That sounds familiar. Move to approve the consent agenda as presented, B, C, and D.
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
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 All right. Other business, Tina.
So a couple things. I absolutely would like to see a municipal building committee considered sooner rather than later. What I'm thinking is to bring back the DPW article to town meeting, ideally October, although whenever that's appropriate, to have a a municipal building committee to back up, to be engaged, if timelines allow. I understand October might be tight, but I just feel like it is the step in the right direction for not only the DPW project, but for some of the things that Damon was bringing up in terms of the overall capital needs for the town and some long-range planning. It just makes a lot of sense to me. So how and when that conversation starts, I'm eager to have it on a municipal building committee. I also wanted to just follow up in pulling the DPW article and pulling Article 20 from the warrant right move on a number of different fronts. One of those, which we didn't talk about, is the Finance Committee voted 7-0 not to recommend that article. We need to re-engage with them on the reasons why they did not recommend the article. That's significant. Had Article 20 stayed in the warrant, we would have to...
They didn't recommend moving forward because of the funding model, because we went 60% in the override, and they felt that there was too much being put onto the capital on an annual basis.
Sure. I think that this is something we need to re-engage with them on. And so I would look to start those conversations earlier rather than sooner, with an expectation that as an advisory committee they're helping create solutions. I will speak for myself personally. That was a significant surprise to have a 7-0 recommendation against, which just speaks to me like, Tina, you have to be more proactive and the engagement has to start sooner. So would look to do that with our decision tonight to pull the article. It seems like a great opportunity to engage with the Finance Committee, and I hope they're open to that. I'm sure they are. To your point, Ben, on the reasons why they recommended against, it's not the DPW project, it was the funding mechanism and model. Exactly. So let's get that conversation started too. Yep. Those would be my two things for other business that, I don't think either one are a next agenda item, except this final one. And perhaps we can put it on the agenda for town meeting night where we meet, just to update the traffic rules and regulations. I think we have language ready to go for that, but you and I can connect.
Sure.
But if I could just put a placeholder
Yes.
for the May 11th meeting that we
If there's going to be changes, I probably would rather prefer it would be something not before town meeting.
Okay,
Like,
they're
if there's gonna be-
administrative, but
If they're just administrative, like we're just doing like as is, I mean, it might be, you know.
well, what?
We can
Maybe
maybe
you can ask
explore
Frank
just
to send the draft out.
Yeah, just to
changes
sort of
to
see
the
like
board.
what are the changes that are coming, just in case that people want to be able to see what we're
And then
talking
we can
about
put it as a
here.
placeholder either May 11th or one after that if you
Yeah,
prefer.
I just want to make sure we're
Yep.
not doing something that
That's fine.
that
No
people
parking
don't
signs
have
up and down.
Yeah, I want people to have a
Marshall.
chance to know what's going on.
Fair
So,
enough. That's it. That's all I had. I guess it was 3 things.
Okay.
Nothing major on my end. I sent a request to Frank about something for the next meeting related to the Lions Club, but I think I've yapped enough, so nothing.
Okay. All right, I don't have anything either. Frank, you have any?
I'm good.
Sure.
No.
All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved at 9:10.
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
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 All right, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. We will next be in session on May 11th before town meeting at the library at 6 o'clock. So have a wonderful evening, and we will see you at town meeting. Thank you.